Good morning, Christiana.
Well, good morning, Desiree. I think that it is a really tough time in America right now. We are in the middle of our day, so we are full of energy. Thank you very much for waking up and looking after the needs of the big.
Yes, sorry, I was a couple minutes late. I just woke up, but everything is here now, it looks like.
Go back to sleep.
I think I'll hang out. I wanna listen.
Yeah.
But I'll be a little quiet.
All right. I wish I could give you a little bit of Greek coffee.
I have an espresso machine downstairs. It makes me very happy, but it's a little noisy. So I'm gonna wait until 8 to take it.
Okay. Well, hello everyone. Rachel. Yes. How many people are we here? 9. Oh, very nice. Yeah, Rachel, you are located in England, I think, right? No, your mic is not on. No, I cannot hear your answer.
Now I'm on. How's that? I'm actually in Switzerland, near Lausanne. Now you can hear me?
Oh, yes, I can hear. Yes, near Lausanne. Yeah. I remember. Yes.
So this is the aquarium, we say.
And you're doing stuff with yeasts, is that correct?
I'm especially interested in human DNA and helping open source these classic methods to look at DNA damage and actually just people using their own inner cheek cells. But during the pandemic, we got very into this whole surveillance diagnostics type stuff for COVID. And now, well, we're hoping things are starting to get a little bit back to normal. So yeah, this biohacker space is really driven by members' projects, and there are all sorts of things. Like there's this spectrophotometer workshop that's happening right now with like a dozen engineers making their own spectrophotometers. I put the picture in the WhatsApp, but I should try and get all the pictures that I took into the computer so I can put them on Facebook or whatever. But for now, it sounds like we just follow the schedule that Vittorio and Roland started, or what are we supposed to do now?
To tell you the truth, my body is here. Yeah, my body is here and I am waiting. I think that we are going to have a pre-meeting regarding the session that we are going to do as Europeans.
Yeah, but that session is supposed to happen, well, it's supposed to start at noon our time, right? So this is now, that's what we have to decide.
Yes, I think we start at 12 at noon, yeah. And this is the pre-meeting. I guess Vittorio will show up shortly.
I see another.
Actually, because the pre-meeting, maybe we should not necessarily record the pre-meeting. I know this is being recorded, but
I can stop it if you want.
Well, it's more that otherwise people forget to cut it off afterwards.
Okay, no problem. I'll stop it and then we can restart it at
we have to think
at the turn of the hour.
You have to think about restarting it though. Yeah.
Okay, where are you, Desiree?
I am in Boston.
Aha. So you're the host that got woken up. Thank you so much.
I am. It's okay. Sorry, I was a couple minutes late. Let me just turn this off for now and then we'll turn it back on. Okay.
She woke up. She woke up before the sunrise for us. Yeah, thank you, Desiree.
All right, then.
Thank you, Desiree. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Yeah.
And so it begins.
So it's Günter also is in the room. Perhaps he didn't hear our discussion. Günter, are you here, Günter?
Yes, I'm here, and I
heard we were trying to we are in the first session, and we are trying to reconstruct collectively the histories of the
I mean, it depends on. I think what Julia meant is that there are different kinds of history. So there's a history of the organized DIY Bio Europe, and there's a history of some individual historical events of DIY Bio. I guess that at one point, you know, just like there's a confluence at one point. It's always hard to say where to start. So there was like this transatlantic meeting in London. I think Thomas Landrain was there, as I remember, and Malte from Denmark. That was like an early event when it comes to having a organized or having awareness of an organized European DIY Bio. And then there was this FBI event. It was mentioned yesterday as well by David Kong. I think that was also a catalyst for DIY Bio Europe, because I think there was no idea to have like really like a kind of organization. And that really helped, because I think that was the first time that really a big number of European biohackers met for the first time in San Francisco, organized by the FBI, that this outreach for the community. And then I think that was like the starting point. And I think Thomas Landrain tried to really build a formal structure for that, and he made this kickoff meeting at the Musée Arts et Métiers in Paris in 2012. I think it was December 2012, and there were a lot of guys that had joined it from the London biohackers, and this.
Günter, can you tell us the story about this FBI event? I don't.
Oh, I haven't been there, so that's why I wouldn't consider myself as a first generation. I think there was an outreach because, you know, biohacking became popular, and I think that they attract some media attention. And I guess at one point it's maybe the authorities see it as their duty to see what's going on there. And I think the FBI just pretty came up front and just invited all of them to see who they are and see how they work, interaction. And I think like, I don't know if that was intentional then to form, but I think for authorities, it's easier if they deal with an organizational body than with like dispersed individuals. I think that just to let them know that there is some safety and security. And I think in the United States, there was more like a bioterrorism kind of fear. And in Europe, it's more about biosafety, I guess, because there are completely different regulations. But I think, yeah, and Rüdiger was there, and Thomas and Malte, and I think Erik Berger was also there, when I recall. I'm not sure if Urs and Mark were there. Maybe, I could be, they should be, because I think Mark, they even started earlier in 2008. But I'm not sure if they connected to the American biohackers or to the European. And so after 2012, it really started then going in Europe. So there was like, because there was then these follow-up events in Amsterdam at the Waag, at the opening at the Waag, and then there was like in Helsinki, and we did one in Vienna, and then there was Calvanico, and then there was the biofabbing in Geneva, and I think there were 2 or 3 events in Paris, but then you know, around
well, one in Berlin as well.
And one in Berlin, yeah. Rüdiger was organizing one in Berlin as well. That's true. And there were a few attempts to start projects like the antibiotics project and what else. Yeah, but after Geneva, I think it was then kind of, it was a little bit exhausted. And it was only recently when I was talking to Mark that we should like start to make some meetings again, but not like highly organized, like more smaller, more informal, kind of, you know, with a low organizational how you say
Overhead.
Overhead, yes. Like and not having big budgets, but just like making small meetings and going a little bit back to the starting idea, just like to meet like freely and hack around, playing around with stuff and just like exchange ideas and not being so formal, because I think the building up of a formal structure at one point it just failed a little bit in Europe. I think Thomas Landrain, he really put a lot of energy in it, but in the end I think it didn't resonate in a lot of, because it was like then more like it was like still a little bit atomized and everybody was a little bit, you know, suspicious of having like a European overhead and regulating and all this kind of stuff, although it was too far off, I guess, in the thinking. But I think that was a little bit the fear in the beginning. If you have like a official European organization, who's in power there, who's making regulation, who's negotiating with the European Commission and stuff like that, and that was, I think that was not easy to make a formation there. I think that in short.
Yeah.
But what really worked, what really worked was the exchange, because a lot of projects came up with that and ideas. And small startup companies, I mean the DigiBio startup company from Fede was like, you could say the starting point maybe was like in Calvanico, and other collaborations, you know, Julian, you can tell a lot, and you know, like, and there was this in Austria, there was also Andreas Stürmer with the biohacking space in Graz, which was quite advanced, and they have their startup too, the Kilobaser, and of course like Hectare, they were doing just like so much stuff in the last 10 years, you know, like really they were extremely productive. I think were I would say that was the most productive group in Europe, I would say.
Mm-hmm. And also the people in Poland as well.
I've never heard of the people in Poland. I mean, I know that there's Stas and Carolina. Yeah.
I think
but
they are.
I get to know them only later. I think I get to know Carolina only in 2018, 2019, I guess.
I think that Peter did a series of video documentaries, and one of these videos covered the experiences in Poland. I think Stanislav, because I also invited him here, but I got no response from him. Also invited Caroline Sulic as well, because I met there at one of the previous editions of the Bio Summit, but I don't know. The Copernicus Institute, how is it?
He's there, but that's an official science museum, kind of.
Yeah. But Peter told me that Stanislav was doing very interesting stuff with plants, something like this. I'm not sure. I cannot remember the details.
You know,
Stanislav is, yeah.
He loved the biohacking stuff, and so it's just like he had ants and algae and and all kinds of stuff. So so he really, and glowing fish. So he really put a lot of effort in the biolab in the center, because you have like other facilities there too in the Copernicus Center. You have like a physics, a chemistry center, and he runs the biology lab. And so
it's also interesting to listen to some other positions or memories about what is the history of European DIY bio.
Yeah.
Yeah, Julian and Hackuarium, your experiences.
Yeah, Microbiomik. I'm very curious. I don't know very little about your with this group. It sounds very interesting.
I would actually suggest to give the word to Maya or also to Rachel, if one of you want to go first, and I can talk about it a bit later.
Well, for me, I wasn't here at the beginning. I'm really interested to know if someone like Luke Henry was actually along for the transatlantic meeting in London and things like that. I came along a couple of years after Hackuarium had begun. So I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say. Maya, you were probably involved before I was, right? With Hackuarium? For the Hackuarium network, we're like very broad spread too. It's not just the people in Zurich. Go on, Maya.
Not sure, dear Rachel. Like I joined Hackuarium only in 2016, 17.
Oh.
So I mean, I heard
Yeah.
a lot of stories, and again, the entry as I had it was the biofabbing event, which was happening in Geneva at the CERN ideation space, the Confucius Institute from University of Geneva, and also from Utopiana, which is an art space in art and science. And it was super interesting because it had more than 50 participants coming not only from Europe, but also from around the globe. David Kong was there, Life Patch from Indonesia was there, some Chinese people, and Peter also from Vogue Society. And it was a 3-day event of many workshops, many talks, and also visiting different places. And I think, Rachel, we went to visit Hackuarium in that time also because Lausanne is close to Geneva, as like things in Switzerland are super close. And the 3 days spending intense time together as physical person was a way of initiating new networks, I guess. And this event was really like kind of bonding the people together. We did tempeh workshops in the garden. We had a barbecue with just one tiny little grill. We had to invent ourselves, and also the prominence of being in close to CERN at the ideation space gave a lot of time and opportunity to collect the ideas of what DIY bio is and where we are going to. And I think David Kong was a bit inspired from the biofabbing also. And in my opinion, it's super important to recreate this network. And that's why I want to thank Vittorio, like his initiative to now participate here at the Bio Summit somehow really created a better awareness about how many there are in Europe, right? So this is my perspective. Yeah.
There's Mark. Mark is just entered the room.
Attention, attention, Mark just entered the room.
We have Hackuarium members. Urs is here too.
Because whoever knows the history, more or less, of the community knows this is an historical moment. Urs also entered the room. Urs Gaudens, also very important for the community with the Gaudi Labs.
Yeah, just to wrap up, we try to refresh our memories and talk about the history of DIY bio, because we realized we're like second generation of the biohackers and DIY bio people. So maybe if Urs and Mark is here, they can also talk about a bit of their memory.
Yeah, of course.
Tell us about the early days, Urs. When did you discover how much?
Rachel, at some point I want also to hear about the conflicts, because it's a very, very important thing in feature of this community. And I think not to delve into this, but not to repeat the same dynamics, because I think it's a very sad story of lost opportunities. For example, can I say something personal? Last year I won a 150,000 euros funding from the European Union in a project within a project called Ledger. And the financing was for a project which I will present very briefly later in the session of dedicated to the project. It's an open open distributing environmental monitoring platform. In 2 words, it is a open source low cost detection system for mutagens. You know, we have, for example, in my region in Napoli, we have a huge problem with abnormal incidents of some kinds of malformation and types of cancer. So it's and I got this funding, but we were an informal group. Günter also here was part of it, and then the pandemic started, and it was very hurtful, but I had to give up the funding because it was the business model, so to speak, was not sustainable at all, because it was based on sustainable tourism, on the education factor, working with schools, and also working with a network of experts from, from outside Italy. And so all these 3 key factors weren't there anymore. And I think this is a good example of a lost opportunity because of not existence, because a real community, a place where people like me, but I'm not talking about me, obviously, could go to be helped and to see. I cannot do this by myself. But is there anyone willing to help? I don't know if I'm making any sense to you.
Are we still in the historical session?
Yeah. I think it's this is part of the history. Yeah. It's like Maya. It's still you are right. It's a little bit off topic, but I think it's also part because I think it's one of the most. It's one of the most important funding our communities. Someone has gotten from the European Union for biohacking. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Maybe we can talk about this in the funding part.
Yeah. It's like to underline what the spirit was for in my opinion, for this, meeting as well.
So how many among us biohackers are there still sort of academic links? Günter, are you a professor now?
I'm just an external lecturer. So I teach the design theory at the New Design University in St. Pölten, and I'm also tutoring their bachelor students, like for their bachelor work, and I'm also at BOKU, but I'm only there. It's only a small position. We develop experimental kits for school kids. So we develop workshops there with yeast and experimental kits, because like when the pandemic started, we just like try to find a way that we build small kits like that they can be done at home with the parents. So, like dyeing textiles with yeast, or having like a lot of fermentation recipes from sake, ginger beer, and some African beers, and then we also have some GMO kits in the development. But right now in the pandemic, it's like we're just heading in another lockdown, so the more complicated experiments with GMO. We have a few nice GMO experiments with yeast, but they are a little bit postponed because of the situation in Austria. It just went a little bit out of control. We have too many anti-vaxxers here. That's why, and the politics, they were sleeping on the situation. And we also have like a political crisis because of one party. And so that came together, and now we're in a bad situation where it's like, it's not so flexible to, or easy to work on more complicated projects. But that are the three main things I'm working on right now.
So I don't have any official academic positions, but we have friends. We have friends at the EPFL and friends at the UNIL, and even we can put some of our strains in a -80 that's at the Department of Fundamental Microbiology. So that's a very good thing for a biohacker lab that doesn't even have a sink in our P1 lab, to keep these sort of connections to people that are interested and can help. But especially for funding, it would be really good for me. Some of our members are telling me to get some sort of position. And I mean, this is totally off topic now. So we should go back to the schedule, I guess. Are there more historical perspectives?
Yeah, does somebody want to add a bit on history? I was thinking myself when I got in, because I guess I'm also second generation. I like this terminology. I guess I started going to the open wet lab in the Waag, like, because there used to be open Tuesdays and Saturdays, so you could enter the lab in like 2015 or so. And at some point, I just got sucked in, and it took over my life. But I think the first event I really went to kind of internationally was in Berlin, was organized by Rüdiger, I think, and Miguela on digital microfluidics. I think Günter was there, but you don't remember meeting me there, but that's fine. I went with Federico, who later got really serious because he realized there's something to do with this digital microfluidics. And I got serious because I realized I could use this for my master thesis, because I was doing media technology at the time. And turned out the prototype was not there yet, and it took them 5 more years to to move droplets without burning the chip. But that's hardware for you. But this was a really cool exchange. I mean, that's where I met Urs and Mark as well. I don't know if they're here and they want to add something as well. They're like the Hackuarium guys. If somebody else wants to add a bit of history.
I can add a little bit.
Yeah.
So actually, for me, it started in Waag in Amsterdam. But like 2012 or 13 was this meeting. Günter, we also met there. Think something around that, late 2012, early 2013. And I was still deep into academic research, doing my PhD on natural science stuff, yeast, molecular biology things. And then I met this other world of people doing things very differently. Hey, Mark. And yeah, Mark was also there, and Günter and Rüdiger. And yeah, this whole community was really, for me, a great inspiration, and came at just the right moment, and gave me a feeling also I can leave this academic institutional bullshit behind and still do science. And that's what I wanted to do. And basically that's then step by step how it continued. Yeah, and I'm really thankful for that. Actually, it's been almost 10 years now. So after that, I think I went to a couple of these meetings, also in Vienna, and of course the biofabbing in Geneva, which was also very intense and very interesting. But for me, these big meetings were no longer that important. It was good to know what other people are doing, but more important for me were actually the smaller events, where you really get to know the people and what they're working on and work together. And from these, also the projects like Humus Sapiens came out. And then through Humus Sapiens and the meetings that we did there in 2018 and 19, again, then projects evolved where we are really working on something, doing something physical in the world, and not just talking about it. And this I think this is also a bit the idea of for me, for bringing back people, bring together people that work in Europe, for example, in also a format like this one here, to then be able to get to know each other and pick out just like 2 people maybe, I'm interested in you and you, and then continue to talk about things, and maybe something develops. Maybe next year you're suddenly meeting physically and doing something actually. And this is also a reason why I'm here now and spending my beautiful sunny Saturday in the looking into the screen. Yeah. Concerning the history, I think now that Mark is also there, I think it would be great if you could say a few words to Hackuarium, if you're motivated.
Yeah, I can. All right, Timer. I have to prepare another talk for some art students in St. Petersburg that starts in a few hours. So if I look a bit more also, not only from the personal view on this, let's say, earlier times of biohacking, or call it do-it-yourself biology, it usually goes back to this early iGEM era, kind of with the rise of synthetic biology in the early 2000s. Students were suddenly asked to work, engineers and biologists and geneticists together. And I even personally followed this in 2003, 4, 5, when it also happened in the university. I was a student in ETH. And I think a lot of the history is a bit connected to this. At the same time, me included, we started call it a makerspace, working a lot with open source tools like Arduinos and other stuff. And also the iGEM, in fact, had a very much open science approach. Everything was written on wikis, and everything was kind of, all the lab protocols were shared amongst the students in a still available online wiki page. I think these two movements from the mid-2000s, I guess some students were bored that iGEM was over and looked around in their city and found maybe a hackerspace that allowed them to continue this kind of creative open access or open approach to using biology, microbiology, working with some genetically modified bacteria. And I was, I think, part of that kind of same generation. So I started to teach like Arduino classes in Taiwan. We started do-it-yourself electronics, open source electronics workshops with our community called the Swiss Mechatronic Art Society, which is also where I met Urs, by the way, and worked on this interface of technology and society. I was quite inspired by this kind of also iGEM, let's say, motivation. But then quite soon I thought it was getting a bit boring. And then at some event that I was participating, we had a garage science event using also very much open source approach hosted by Midela Prado. So everything we documented for 2 weeks on a wiki. We worked in interdisciplinary team, a lot of artists, a lot of hackers, open source enthusiasts, designers, architects, everything. And there, together with meanwhile, a friend, Andy Gracie, who is an artist that works like connecting technology and living systems a lot, and with another artist, musicians, and educator, Yasha Shetty, we were discussing a bit about how can we get more artists into this open source approach to working with biology. And there is already a scene, call it bioart, that has been working since the 90s or even earlier, doing also these home laboratories. There's a few famous examples. But we wanted to also embrace that very much do-it-yourself approach. And we thought the iGEM scene is a bit too geeky. It's a lot of like nerdy, geeky students that just kind of want to work with genetics. And we wanted to broaden the approach to working with living systems and also using wikis and developing workshops. So in 2009, we started a wiki called Hackuarium. At the beginning, it was very much about the wiki. But then no one was putting anything on the wiki. So besides being invited to do workshops here and there all over the world, we thought we have to organize our own small gatherings to bring the spirit of, let's say, do-it-yourself, making open source approach, artistic approaches to biology. And so since 2010, we started regularly to organize small group events. Because in the founding years, one of the founders was in an art school in India. We also did activities in India. On the same trip, we met other people from Indonesia. They're called Life Patch. At that time, they were called House of Natural Fiber. So Hackuarium has positioned itself since the early times as a bit of a bridge between also some Asian communities in India and Indonesia mostly, and other European networks we were involved. But then in 2009-10, a lot of stuff started to happen. There was I think also a first European do-it-yourself biology meeting held in Manchester, where I also met a lot of interesting people, still quite connected to the iGEM synthetic biology communities. We did one in 2010 here in Zurich, and in 2011, Hackuarium hosted maybe the first larger international gathering where we brought about 40 people for 10 days to a beautiful 12th century monastery in the Swiss mountains. And since then, we very much thought it's more interesting to have, let's say, groups really working together, sharing together, and have this open source approach also lived in a kind of a community or a retreat situation. Yeah, the history is long, but so that's a bit kind of, I think the early history from myself is a bit there. And then a lot of other meetings happened. And for example, the Bio Summit later then could position themselves on a much more, let's say, larger event with like 300 people, which was personally, I'm happy that someone else does it. So we can focus a bit like what Julian just said before, to more smaller work gathering where we not just talk and hooray to each other, but really, you know, have enough time to work on new project ideas, also document on site what we're working on. I'm done for the moment.
Okay. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear. So they had a lot of meetings early on.
Yeah, yeah. Then it was those.
And then we had this series of biocommons meetings, also in Italy, in Berlin, in Finland. This is what Roland also just mentioned before. This was part of a funded series of events, I think, by Synergene to discuss synthetic biology in the public. And a lot of bio communities were involved in this Synergene project, and Biocommons was a series of these small work meetings. That's where I met you, Vittorio, I think in Italy. It was a fantastic one in Napoli, near Napoli.
Yeah, near Napoli. There's also Francesco met you there. Francesco is here with me, Francesco Guarino. We are in the Fab Lab of Città della Scienza in Napoli. Yeah, that's it. Mark, but what about 6 years ago? I think perhaps you were telling me about a group in Prague, BRM Lab, something like this, doing really crazy stuff, also against the law. For what you know, are they still active or I don't know?
I haven't followed so much. So maybe some of you know Denise Akera. She has been very early involved as a researcher in observing this biohacker scene, both in the US, but then also because she moved to Singapore, also in Asia, because she's originally from Prague. She was also very much also promoting the Brm Lab people that did some fermentation, and I don't even know what they did. But there's a lot of earlier works. There's a hackerspace in Budapest called Hack, Hungarian Autonomous Center for Knowledge. They did in the early 2000s. They did a lot of working with genetically modified bacteria, more in an art context. They exhibited in Ars Electronica in 2003. So there's a lot of stuff that happened already much earlier.
And also the things happening also in Helsinki, I think the microfluidics thing, some of you went to Helsinki or something like this in Scandinavia. And then
so in Helsinki, we have two groups. There is the BioArt Society, which also always involved some of the, let's say, biohacker communities for doing workshops. Their focus is maybe more on art and environment, but in a very broader sense. They also did series of artistic works on genetics, on CRISPR, on synthetic biology. They were also involved in the Synergene network. But then if we look at Scandinavia, there's also these huge biohacker conferences, which I think have a similar old history, but they talk about something very, very different. These are the self-improvement people that take pills to live forever, and they eat these proteins, and they go to the gym and measure their pulse all the time, which these two communities are totally disconnected. But Helsinki is hosting this like 2,000 people conference called Biohacker Conference or something.
Yeah, Peter told me he once ended up there by like accident, thinking it would be.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious if you look at their website, though.
Yeah, realizing he ended up in the wrong type of biohacking.
And some other very early on, so one definitely like La Paya started very early in Paris, and the Manchester group started maybe one of the most early. They were part of Mad Lab, also hosting, I guess, the first focused meeting only for Europeans. While before, I think a lot of these communities met maybe at iJam or something like this. Mad Lab has stopped these activities, as I know. La Paya's maybe has a long story, a lot of changes all the time. And it even had a spin-off in Lausanne. So one thing also with Hackuarium, what is kind of interesting is that we, in the beginning and also with the other communities all over the world, we thought there's so few people, let's meet as global as possible. Unlike, let's say, electronic music, every city you find enough people that are interested and come together once in a week. But we had this discussion that it's too diluted, the scene, so it makes sense to meet on a more global or European scale. Even the same person that started the first hackerspace in Los Angeles said the same. It's like there's not enough people. People don't travel 3 hours through Los Angeles traffic to go to a biohacker space. It's too far away, and there's only like 5 people in LA interested in the topic. So this is this was like a few years ago. This was 2012. We had this discussion with LA Biohacker Space that somehow the scene is very diluted. So we have to kind of, on one hand, meet on online tools, which we did since the very beginning. There is mail lists. There is like online conferences has happened since the very beginning. It's nothing to do with the pandemic.
I'm not sure, Mark, if you mentioned him. What about Cathal Garvey or the guy from?
Yeah, he's definitely also one of the earliest kind of. I guess he also came through this iJam kind of pathway, but at the same time in a local makerspace in Ireland, and this kind of Dremel centrifuge that he kind of used a 3D printer to make some kind of a highly dangerous centrifuge. It went pretty viral. This was, I think, 2009 as well.
Yeah, I read somewhere that he was, correct me if I'm wrong, he was the first one to be granted some kind of license for genetic engineering in his home lab, i.e. his room, something like that.
It's the first one.
Yeah,
I don't know if this is the first one. And this is very different in different parts of the world, the regulations. Man, I guess there's maybe a bunch of enthusiastic biology teachers that did this already. I don't think so, no.
No, I mean,
there's maybe an enthusiastic biology teacher that did this already 20 years ago. We just don't know because we're in different circles.
Yeah.
Vittorio, in the interest of time, I think at some point we should transgress to the
yeah.
next
If
part.
someone has some final remarks, if someone wants to talk about the conflicts, or because I witnessed a lot of conflict during the history of this community. If it's interesting for someone. For example, I was in Vienna.
What conflicts are you talking about?
No. I must have dreamt.
I know one.
Them.
There was one conflict, the Great Pacific Split. No, the Great Atlantic Split.
Yeah, I was in Vienna.
I think somewhere in 2012, 13, the American scene and the European scene quite kind of got into a bit of a split.
Yeah. No, I mean,
but it was much more together before.
Can you describe it?
Maybe we should stay in the American mode of awesomeness here and just stay positive, right?
No, it just happened. Somehow, I think it was at iGEM. Suddenly there was two kind of manifestos or whatever, code of ethics. One was the European one and one was the American one. Partially, I think there was a disagreement on how to work with the secret services. Yeah. While I think in Europe, a lot of people are much more careful in kind of working with government surveillance, which also led to a more stronger community in Europe. I think that split. And so we had these meetings, for example, in Waag. I think that what Günter and Julian just discussed, where we wanted to have this European version, very strong European. We're not like the Americans. We are more critical, we are more conservative, we have like our Christian heritage and, you know, welcome to Europe. But then it happened, the split was then the France-German split. Who is the center of biology, who to do it yourself biology of Europe? And of course, the Paris wanted Paris and the Germans wanted Berlin. So we kind of totally went into a cliche of European politics. In the end, nothing happened, because everybody wanted to be the center.
What were you talking about, Switzerland?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, so the Paris wanted Paris to be the center, Germany wanted Berlin to be the center, and the Swiss stayed neutral, of course, as usual.
Yeah, exactly. And try to connect our kind of international blah, 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 and make profit out of it. It was a bit ridiculous, but kind of almost funny situation.
What about this, Mark? Can you see the chat? What about this article? The Media Lab takes the leadership of the do-it-yourself bio community. Maker article. I'm mentioning it because I contacted literally everyone, including Denise Akera, and some of them, I won't say names now because it would be useless, are really resent that BioSummit is too American-centered, and that it's also political, some kind of, hostility against not Google-based, American-based solutions, platforms. Some of us, I would say us, refuse to join, are not with us, because they didn't want to sign the code of ethics for the BioSummit. They didn't want to put their data into a Google Doc. That's, I know. I think this is one of the issues. I might be wrong, but we can also skip it or discuss it later if.
No, Evan, actually, Evan is here. He wrote the article, I guess, and he has even an older story to tell, because I think he was around in the late 80s, early 90s, when Steve Kurtz and Oren Katz and those were making the first exhibitions in Europe, right?
But if I may interrupt for 1 second, please, because I do have a very different story. I was accepted at the BioSummit when I started thinking about changing my region and making a community movement. So I was invited, I made an application and I made a request to go and attend the Bio Summit. And it was a life-altering event for me because I felt very supported. I felt that I belonged to a bigger community and there were huge doors opened all over the world. There was not an American issue, not a North American or South American or Asia issue. It was an all-encompassing family that got me into where I am today. I also got invited to participate in the fellowship program, and that really helped me to put things into perspective and start gathering my community around. I got a little bit funded by the European Union, and now I have assembled a team of international team, actually global team, as well as local team. So Bio Summit was really implemental in really guiding me to take a different leadership position in assembling all the challenges that rural areas have, and they as themselves, and then linking with the urban areas. So I do have a different perspective than getting into political issues. I see our planet suffering. I see rural people suffering. I see science as having problems communicating. And I would like, and I am making an official calling to prototype villages and communities that they do give answers. And I could not find a better place than the Bio Summit to solicit people to find answers. Yes, it's not a recipe for every living problem, but it is definitely a way of opening up, joining, and connecting people. Thank you for listening to me. I'm in a very good path. I am very, very close in making my dream. And my dream is to get an empty shell, old school in an empty village, fill it up with people like yourself, and fill it up with people that they want to actually implement answers to help societies, help young people get better jobs, and protect and steward the mountain. So I'm sorry, I really want to give another perspective, and that's the community building. Don't forget that this is about global community biolabs. So the community I don't hear in here. I heard a lot of perspectives from everybody. Yes, they're very good, but community is what we need to get going. Thank you.
Okay. Shall we move to the second session, or what do you guys think?
In the interest of time, we should, I think, because many people prepared a little talk. So we should go to the session about showcasing their projects. How long does everybody have? Like, is it a maximum of 4 or 5 minutes?
Yeah, it's I told them 5 to 10 minutes, but I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well,
because I was never sure about who actually would show up.
Let's say 4 to 5, because there's many in the Google Doc. So if everybody wants to talk,
okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Who wants to start? I would be the first, but I'm not. I'm doing another thing. I would say, if Afi, are you here? Afi Sodersono, the Rural Life Project. I saw her.
Yes, I'm here. Hello. Hang on 1 sec.
Are you ready for your presentation, or do you need?
No, I can start my presentation. That's fine.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, because I missed the initial preparation of the talk, and I prepare presentation. So, how's that work? Like, we're just going to talk, or is that okay to show
You're
some slides?
going. I guess you're going to give your presentation. I think up to 10 minutes, including that video, and then the other will give their presentation, and then we will have a final Q&A. I think that's how it usually works.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. I mean, one notice, I have to leave at 1:30. So
yeah.
Okay, let's go. Hang on a second. Hello, everybody.
Sorry, maximum 5 minutes per person. Otherwise there's too many.
No. Totally, I'm with you.
Okay. So perhaps introduce yourself a bit, perhaps. Yeah.
Well, my name is Avi Sudarsono. I currently work for Rural Hack in Naples. But listening to all your conversation, I came from Indonesia originally, and I know some people from Life Patch. I did some collaboration work with them in the past with fermentation, sourdough starters, etc. So a little bit of this biohack world, I had some brief encounter in the past, but now for the last 3 years, I've been working with Rural Hack that focusing on rural innovation in South Italy. So probably some of you mentioned Calvanico, which was part of their headquarters in like 5 years ago before I came here. So anyway, now I'm screen sharing, 1 sec. Okay, there you go. So I'm going to present one of the recent as in like 2 years ago, we started working with this project, which is called Campo di Grano 4.0. So it's basically a community in a remote area of Cilento, that's kind of remote part of South Italy. And they started growing non-conventional grains. Like non-commercial grain, so they start developing all their system of seed banks and cooperation, a co-op that then giving people the seed, so then everybody can start growing this breed. So that's what we are going to present today. Anyway, so Rural Hack, it's an action research project. We're using Mediterranean model approach, which means it's a lot about, we believe that technology has to start from understanding the culture of the place and working with the people instead of like, it's more working with people, finding their needs and find the right technology and hack them into what would be suitable for that community. So we're a group of researchers, university students, hackers, scientists, designers, like everybody who's passionate about technology and sustainable agriculture. This is our scheme of where we work between social innovation. We're working a lot with agriculture system and introducing 4.0 technology, specifically with IoT or Arduino and all that kind of more like low cost, affordable technology. And so we do co-design workshops using service design approach, user-centered approach. We also do IoT workshop in agriculture, and we have a scholarship for intern that follow our programs. Hang on a second. So, okay, so this is like a little introduction to what we did with what we have done, what we've been like, we still keep working with this community. So we always start from ethnographic research. So we're talking to the farmers, like we're trying to gain this old wisdom from the farmers from that area. And that's my collaborator, Alex Giordano. And so gaining information from them and also following what they do in the field is very critical to really understand and observe firsthand of what actually happening. This is an example of our co-design workshop. So we always start from observation. It means that we're following their activities, and then after that we gather and doing a kind of a co-design workshop together to understand their needs, like what are the problems, what are their so we're starting always like mapping out all the phases, all the stages of the work involved in this case cultivation of grain. And also, so I mean, this community, they have all this kind of a very cool, like quite like a close system that they have also their mill, and they make their own, I mean, they collect their seeds and then they keep their seeds, etc. So anyway, from all this research that we have done and interview with the people, so we're starting like mapping out all the cultivation. Sorry, this is in Italian, but basically start from soil cultivation, seed sowing, harvest, and milling, etc. And from there we start like mapping out their the pain point in each of these stages. So our recent project with them, we have gathered this information that they have a lot of like missing of historical data of the soil analysis that can be very helpful to understand the kind of treatment or intervention they need to do. And then on the seed sowing stage, they need to control the quality of the seed, of course. That's also one of the main issues. And then from the, anyway, so I don't want to go into details, like all this part. And from the after, when it's close to the harvest, one of the biggest problem, especially in the Apennine, how do you call it, like mountain, it's the boar, like the wild boar that will attack the grains, and so then it will create a harvest like failure, basically. So then we decided to work more on these issues. And what we have done, so this is like the main 3 pain points or primary challenges of this rural community: wild boar attack, the record, the data of the soil health analysis, and at the end is also to the identifying the color of the straw. I mean, what it means is that because they're growing this non-conventional grains, so it's not very uniform. Like they're using this particular approach called genetic participatory, I can't even pronounce it, but basically they're throwing like a mixed variety of seeds instead of just one seed. And so hoping that this variety of seed with different characteristic will adapt to the circumstances, like the environmental situation that now with the climate change we can't really predict. So therefore the grain doesn't really have this uniformity, and you have to sort of like be able to kind of identify their level of maturity a bit more complex than uniform commercial grains, if that's clear. I don't know if you guys do like some kind of of this theme. So anyway, so we're focusing on wild boar attack as the prototype that we want to try to tackle using IoT and sensors and as a potential solution. So we come up with is it
sorry
is that am I running out of time? So yeah, so we gather like
no.
We're thinking about developing this.
Sorry, it was not directed to you.
Sorry, so tell me, am I running out of time? So
Yes,
anyway, so
but
we're
if you saw, Afi, sorry, I think you should begin to wrap up. But it was my insult in Italian was not addressed to you. It was directed to the technical problems we have here. We don't even have a working electrical socket. You saw it's a
okay.
like this.
Anyway,
So-
so what we come up with is we're coming up with this idea of building like a smart scarecrow. Is that, I mean, you know, like these things that you put on the field to send away the bird, and then we put like all the sensors there, so when the boar came, this scarecrow can detect they're coming and then start sending like some high frequency sonar to keep them away. So this is what we've built with this technology, but then also with the same item, we can also make it as a central station if we want to put sensors on the field that then can gather this information and sending alert to the farmers. So basically that's it. I'm trying to keep it like really brief. I hope it's clear. I mean, the idea of what we're trying to do is like something that we work with the community. We're staying with them, observing them, gathering information, and then we are like the bridge between this information and trying to find what kind of affordable and suitable technological solution that they can hack, quote unquote, and they can build themselves. That's the, I mean, in brief, that's the way we operate. Any question?
Does
Yes,
the scarecrow work?
I mean, it's going. I mean, there's like a video that you can see. I'll send it on the chat. Does it work? I mean, it's good question. We have started like putting few on the field. This has happened before the pandemic, so it's working, and in a small plot. We haven't really like scaled it up in a bigger scale. I mean, one of the main challenge with rural agriculture context in South Italy, especially, is it's the geographical location of all this land are fragmented. Like so trying to use sensors, kind of like you have to work with like microclimate, and then also having like things that more separated. That's one of the main challenge. So now we're working more. We use this pilot in one small patch that's more accessible. So yeah, for the future, it's something that needs to develop more, kind of with like being more robust, I guess, if that's the future phase of this innovation. I mean, innovation that they can apply.
Cool, thank you.
So I'll share with you the link of the video, just like a teaser that you can maybe like see a little bit of our project. Thank you very much. So I pass the word to the next. If Michela wants to present, because she's also in the same session, Vittorio. Vittorio.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. I was saying that I'll pass the word to the second one. I don't know if Michela is ready.
Perhaps. Sorry, just we are having some technical issues here. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes, that's better now.
Can you hear me? I cannot hear you. Sorry.
We can hear you.
We hear you.
Okay. I can hear you now. Yeah, sorry, we are having all sorts of troubles. Almost all the electrical system is disconnected here, so we were running out of batteries. You know, that was the problem. Okay, so it's next. Who's next now?
I was asking Michaela is ready.
I would say let's just follow the Google Docs, otherwise we forget to spin.
Yeah, it's just follow the Google Doc. It's Rachel should be next, apart from me.
Okay, then I'll get ready then to share my screen. I should open this. It's really great. 32 people are in here for this early meeting. I wasn't sure if anyone would make it. So let's go ahead.
Yeah, probably if we had a more, American-centered time, we might have had way more. Yeah.
So, okay, well, I'm really pleased to have a few minutes just to quickly tell you about how our biohacking during the pandemic has gone. The Swiss community lab here, of course, during our lockdown, it wasn't very strict. And sometimes it felt a little bit like this was my private bio lab. But because we built this big collaboration in just one giant lab, the Jogel group, that gave us funding for our corona detective work. We kept a lot of things going, even though there was this not so strict lockdown here. And I feel like I've learned a lot and there's much more to learn ahead. Do you guys see just the presentation as it is here, this sort of overall mind map, sort of Hackuarium biohacking during the pandemic? It works well?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, good. So basically, I came late to this biohacking movement. It was about 2015 when, for my work, I was helping organize a biosensor course for a big EU project. And that's when I got to hear about open science and Hackuarium. Sachiko and Roland and some of the early members of Hackuarium really had made this amazing fluorescence detector. And we did a workshop that brought in some of the people from the Biosummit group, including some of the bio artists like Carolyn. And I was just impressed and got pulled in more and more. But I had already started my own group that was called Agir. Let's see if this is going to work. So Agir is a Swiss association like Hackuarium is, but we started about a year and a half before Hackuarium started, and the idea was really about public health and getting people aware of risks to health. Especially things that hurt what I call genomic integrity, which is supposed to be the big picture project concept that pulls together all of the molecular genetic details of cells into one small phrase that you can try and get a grasp on, with all the details of not just DNA as set in stone from your mother and father, but actually a dynamic thing. We wouldn't have a good immune system if we couldn't rearrange our DNA. And so I said, aha, at Hackuarium, that's where I can do projects for real experiments for looking into genomic integrity and getting people more aware of risks. And so we've been doing this whole thing about open sourcing DNA damage detection in your inner cheek cells. So anyway, I was really impressed when I learned about Hackuarium. So in the French pronunciation, of course, it sounds like you're in a fishbowl, in sort of making you think of open science. And of course, we followed this code of ethics that was made in around 2011 is what I thought, the DIY bio code. And we really enjoy and are driven by member projects. But again, during the pandemic, we really got pulled into an idea of using our molecular genetic expertise to develop a test for COVID-19. And the Corona Detective especially was inspired by Guy Edelberg's GMO Detective. And he had been at Hackuarium more than once over the various years. I think I missed his first GMO Detective workshop that was in the old Hackuarium, but for our 5th birthday party, he did a really nice event with us. And I won't talk too much about Corona Detective at all now, because we'll talk about it during the Jogel session tomorrow. But really getting the support from Jogel through this amazing open peer review, which is unique, was the only way that Hackuarium, we have basically no budget. We survive on members' fees, which is 20 Swiss francs a month. And since 2019, we have a place where we pay rent, which we didn't have before. So it's really a challenge to see if we're going to make this lab stay sustainable, but I have big hopes. And anyway, Corona Detective also drew in on my experience with Swiss Decode, which actually was sort of a spin-off of an old Hackuarium project called Beer Decoded. And of course, I can't talk about all the Hackuarium projects, but everything is in our wiki. And not everything, but because we're all volunteers, I can only push people a certain amount to try and encourage them to document their work, but we can't make people stick to deadlines and things like that, like you could do in an academic institute. But Fran Caro, here's Mark. We do enjoy having these sort of biohack meetups. And it was with Fran and Guy that we set up the Corona Detective. And this was really a day just before lockdown. And probably Fran had already had his first case of COVID before then. He thinks he had it 3 times, you know, so I think vaccinations are better protection than a real infection, just in case you're thinking that you're safe because you already had it. So this just shows back when at our 5-year party, which was in the fall of 2019. And there's Luke Henry, who is one of the co-founders of Hackuarium. There's Gustavo, our old responsable de labo, Olivier Keller, who's more involved in the open science hardware group. But they had this great project, Living Instruments. And I really hope this is going to be reactivated a bit more as things are opening up. And then there's the open flexurescope. Should I stop? Am I talking too long? What's that? Anyway, this is open flexure is what we're hoping to use a lot for our cheek cell chip to look at DNA damage in cells. And
Those
again,
5 minutes.
the 5 minutes went. Okay, so I'll just quickly wrap up saying that, you know, it's all about open science, and we really enjoy this idea of transdisciplinary teams getting together to solve problems. So we had a whole thing about water quality on the lake, and we've actually published a couple of papers this year. So our water quality study has finally been put out in a journal of the British Ecological Society, and we also published something for Corona Detective. But what we really think is that there should be a community lab in every town, and that all of the projects of Hackuarium are sort of open for anyone to take, to hack, to modify, and to play with. And we'd love to hear about that, and we'd love to collaborate more. And let's see, I guess just a few of our most recent projects that we're working on. We had a kimchi workshop, so we're saying we're doing fermentation for everyone. There's coding for everyone. We're doing stuff with this little Bob 3 robot. We've been working on scientific communication and luminescent yeast. Also, those are some of our more recent projects that have been going on now. And maybe I'll just stop. And I think scientific communication is one of the most important things that I can do as president of Hackuarium, and I'm trying to work on it more. So any input and feedback is really welcome. Thank you for your attention. I hear a beep.
Okay. Can you hear me now? That's
yes.
the
Yes.
timekeeping. So perfect. I gave you actually 7 minutes. Sorry,
Thank you.
I was asked by Michela Musto to go first because she and Afi, the one that gave the rural hack presentation, have to go in 15 minutes. So I would say Michela can go first. Then if you have a question for both Afi and Michela, you can pose the question after Michela's presentation because they both have to go, okay? Okay,
yeah. Thank you.
Michela, Miki or Michela Musto,
Yeah.
you can go.
Thank you very much.
Start your presentation.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Vittorio, for this great opportunity, to share this network, and we are really wishing to bring our project to the attention of the world, and it's very very nice to see you, Vittorio, in Città della Scienza, which is actually a fab lab where I've been working for 2 years, setting up all the machines and all the formation and class for this place. Just after that, I run my own lab in Naples, in south of Italy, and I am an architect. So the field where I'm working on is design, from very broad perspective. So from architecture and fashion and research material. So the lab had been founded is the Spark Creative Hub, is a place where research and design are trying to match and to go on further together. I'm working right now on a European project called Valere for post-digital process related to fashion. In this post-digital process, we question ourselves, even after pandemic, which would be the true relation between physical bodies and digital bodies. So we explore this kind of relation in a way to understand which the future trend will be. And in the same research, we are working with Tongji University in China over biomaterials, which I think is more related to the topic we are facing today. Biomaterials are being selected for us for our research, as we are really thinking in a kind of future where materials can be informed and can have a role that goes farther than their just relation with the nature and with the surrounding. So in this context, I will show you I prepared just a small presentation about this research on post-digital processes. Just a second, I'll open it and let's see. Okay, I share. I share my screen. Just a second. Okay, and yeah. Okay. Perfect. Should be this one. Okay, no, sorry, just a second. Yeah, so in this project I'm showing you now, yeah. We explored the relation between, you can see it, I think. Okay, a normal view, maybe. Okay, slideshow, yes. The relation between the brain waves, so the bios, so that the life, the human being, and the possibility of creating something really just without any kind of selection in the middle, so directly from the brain waves to design. So this was one of the experiments like I would really like I'm working on in this moment. So all the process like pass through like the elaboration of data and through algorithm in order to inform the shape and the final design we will work on. So we're working with the EEG headset, which is allowing us like to detect different kind of signals and of brain waves. So we're working mainly with the alpha, beta, and delta brain waves, which are the one more related with the state of concentration and of until the deep sleep, to all the parts related to before like the sleep, which is like the maximum level of course of relaxing of mind. So the idea was to create a kind of process. The idea is to create a kind of process like which could be like innovative in order to understand the relation between like human being and what is possible to work on. So we defined like the archetype, the algorithm archetype form. Then like we work on the deconstruction of like archetype into section of curves, and these section of curves are then informed by the brain waves. So like the idea is to create like a direct interaction, which is like something that allows us like to move a bit further like than directly intentional, let's say, design. So this is like why we start from an archetype, like from Amphor, which is like a really like well-known like shape, and then we try to hack this shape through brain waves. And so like we collect like series of case studies that are allowing us like to understand like how this process can work on. And then the part where the biomaterials arrive is just at this point where we're working on like deconstruction of these archetypes that we create, and then like dividing this archetype into like single components, single fragments. So then like we test and we experiment like for each fragment, a different kind like of biomaterials. We worked with kombucha, we worked of course with fermentation, and we tried to combine like a basic let's say material like fermented material with many different vegetal components. So we use wheat, we use like some kind of flowers that had a specific dyeing potential in order to understand like how these materials can be then used. And here we can see a part of a workshop we made like with students in our space in order to collect the maximum amount of possible design. So then we catalog like the target of the person that used this.
Sorry, Michela, you should start to wrap up. Because,
yeah, of course. I think it's done. Like it's just like this was like the experimentation and like the let's say physical physical application of this new design process. So yeah, this is the stage of our research on post-digital processes, and this is like our little contribution to the world of biomaterials that is still like in a work in progress. So yeah, I wrapped it up. I again thank you everyone. I hope that I was clear enough on the process, and any information like any question. I'm here. Thank you very much.
Okay, so if I was saying Michela and Tafi have to go in 5 minutes, so if someone has questions for them, for Afi, Ruralak, and or Michela. No one? So if it's like this, we can move on to the next speaker, who should
Okay,
be.
well, just last word. Thank you very much. And if there are any question, I mean, you can connect with me on Rural Hack, and be happy to update with the progress of the project. Thank you very much.
Yeah, okay. I also put the full video in the chat.
Perfect.
Everything
Yeah,
is being recorded.
okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Well, have a great summit. Maybe like in the next few minutes. I don't know, few hours. You're still like on. Maybe I'll.
Yeah. There's also another regional meeting tomorrow at I think at 1 p.m. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyone?
Okay. Thank you so much.
1 p.m. Eastern time, which is I think 7 p.m. Here in Central European time.
Perfect.
Okay. So the next up is should be Maya. Maya Minder. Maya, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, everybody.
Yeah. Okay.
We already reached the end of presentations. I think I was the last point. So very good. I'm talking about how to build a DIY biolab from scratch. And because we established this biolab, community lab a year ago, more than a year ago, we moved into a temporary used space in Zurich. It's sited in the kind of financing and also party district of the center of Zurich. And so we can stay here for 5 years. And this we took as opportunity to think of like how to create a biolab as well and build up on a local community. Because Hackuarium for 10 years, it was nomadic. And now we think it's also more useful to create something where students from art schools or maybe collaborations with universities start to exist. We're not many, we're not so many people. I guess Urskauden, some people know because of the generic lab equipment. There's this do-it-yourself lab equipments which are very cheaply available. And Urskauden's part also of Hackuarium, he designed lots of those instruments, but he is not based in Zurich, he's in a different city. So actually Mark and me, we started to create this lab here. And in the beginning, we thought of like, oh, inside this hackerspace where you can see here, it's a hackerspace, typically very messy all the time. There's always people coming for a visit. We have like a workshop room here also. Wait, let me see, show you the workshop. 4 to 5 minutes, right? Yes. It's not working. So a workshop and a conference room, and in front of the biolab, there actually is our kitchen. So you can see here, we have a very improvised kitchen. We don't have water access, but the wall you see behind this is actually a former art piece, which I created as a reconstruction of the Jogja kitchen in Life Patch. So we had these 2 walls to build like our own room. You can also do it with just some kind of wood you had. And then we slowly started to gather the material which are useful for a lab. Like the kitchen here is a kitchen I found on Facebook, which originally the stove alone would cost 4,000 euros, but I could get it for 500 euros. I found it in one of the groups. The most problematic part was more like the transport. And there I worked with lots of friends and asking everybody for help and also carrying the kitchen up here to the 3rd floor. We were super happy. We had an elevator also. And then we also got like lab benches, you see here. And these lab benches was something we found at the ETH, so Swiss Technological High School. They wanted to toss away those lab benches. And so we were at the right moment in the right time to just reoccupy those benches. And they're super useful. For example, here we have an etching machine, which is also similar to a galvanic process. So we can make this PCBs. This is also together with SGMK, the Swiss Mechatronics Society, which also is sharing the space with us. So there's lots of mutual synergetical inspiration of each other. Our cupboards is IKEA. So the price of this one is maybe 69 francs, 69 euros. And then we found also some old tables where now they are in serve for mushroom growing. So actually we have a filter, I think it's Alibaba. No, it's a humidifier from Alibaba. And then we also found kind of improvised incubator machines to also grow our mycelia and our mushroom production here. And then in one moment we made a bit of an investment into crypto coins. And within the with this yield of crypto coins, we finally managed ourselves to finalize a bit of binoculars with nice LCD monitors, and also here is our small library, also a small microscope. And as you see here, it doesn't need much to create a biolab. I think it needs more of a spirit. We maybe invested in total, if you count everything, not from scratch, but also using the materials we had before, we maybe managed to build up this biolab here by the amount of 1,500 to 2,000 euros. Within a year, we also had gifts from other biolabs. So some biolabs said, like Günter Seyfried, for example, from Europe, he sent us a water bath. Then we had some.
Maya,
Yeah.
you should probably start to wrap up as well.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I would, if it were for me, I would make it 3 hours, but I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I hear an alarm clock also already. So
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's it. I think I will continue in the funding section, right?
Yeah, there's also a slot tomorrow, so it's probably. Yeah. If you look at the program, I'm not sure it's 7 p.m. Central European time. There's a regional meeting, I think. And I think it's, as far as I know, it's an empty space because I asked a lot of times who is working, who is planning to join, and no one answered. No one is, I don't know. So for those available, that is another opportunity. So you, Maya, you were finished.
Yeah, I thought we have to wrap up the time.
No, wrap up. I mean, you can you know, express your final thoughts, and you don't have to stop all of a sudden. If you had anything else to say, you have another minute. I think it's like a warning.
Yeah, that's it. Another minute. Like I could, I don't know, tell a bit. Like I work here as a community host. Also, we're trying to build up this thing. It's not easy. It takes lots of energy. But on the other side, I'm also an artist, and I have artistic projects going on. You can find them online. You type in my name, and you find the homepage. And I guess there's always this difficulty with DIY bio community labs that you have to devote your time into several projects. So we're like the super multitaskers, and also try to connect the people as well. And this is something I learned from Hackuarium, that it's super important to have a community and to share the ideas and start to update each other. So like, as I recently said, I just been to visit VOG for the first time. It was super warming. It was super welcoming. I saw a very eloquent workshop on lichens from Adriana Knuf. And then before I was half a year in Paris, and I really wanted to shout out to the French people here in this Zoom talk as well. Like there's so many interesting things going on. Like for example, with Thread, the kombucha people, with whom we started to grow like big size scobies, like 2 by 2 meters, in a way of researching into this vegan leather production as well. And also working with Homo sapiens gave me lots of knowledge of like how big and vast the network is, and how you can always invent yourself. Like if you have financial needs, you start to become creative. So for example, with Homo sapiens, one time Homo sapiens joined an association of the microscopists, and they provided the entire techniques. So they brought all the microscopes to the event, which was super synergetically. And I think this idea of synergies, we really should continue to work on. And for more insights on my project, I can also drop some links here, and then I'm done.
Yeah, I already, I think I dropped the link to your personal, yeah, okay, do it yourself. Okay. It's a dangerous expression here. So, who should be next? Michela was Maya, Julian.
Hello, do you hear me well? Because my connection seems to be not the best. Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you very well.
Good. Then the sound works. I get very delayed feedback of the videos, but maybe that's just because there are so many of you. Okay, I'll try to keep it short. Also, there were some things said already, but I would really like to pick up this thread from before concerning networking and these kind of big meetings. And yeah, as Christina also pointed out, I think these gatherings, also global gatherings or European gatherings and so on, are very important as catalysts. And I was happy to hear that it changed so much in her life. And also, as I said before, it changed a lot in my life. So this meeting 2012 in Amsterdam, and then also the later meetings. Right now, I think what I'm trying to do, and also from resulting from what I learned through Homo sapiens, is to have small focused meetings. But that doesn't mean that the big ones are not important. It's just like a bit of a shift of focus. And yeah, also trying to implement like a real world change directly in front of our house. And I'm super happy to see that there are quite a few projects about agriculture. So this rural hub, and also what Christina is building up in Greece. And I think it's central basically to our the survival of our civilization, to put the drama level very high. But yeah, that's something we really need to work on. And I'm also very happy to work on it, because working with soil, for example, and with plants and animals also is very rewarding. And I would like to just take one example of a project that is now very well developing, that came out of these networks with Homo sapiens. And it's just one tiny example, but I love it. It's in Berlin. A friend of mine was involved with an association that works on a park. Let's say there's a huge park, and there are hundreds of oak trees in this park, and these oak trees lose their leaves in the autumn. So there's a lot of this foliage laying around on the ground. And what has been done with these leaves, potential humus in my eyes, is that they were transported away out of the city. Like that was been happening the last 50 years or so. Every year, I think like 15 or 16 tons of these leaves were transported out of the city, composted, not burnt, composted at least. And then every spring they were buying compost again. And we are on our way to completely eliminate all this transportation steps and compost it on spot in the park, which of course makes a lot of sense. And I think there are hundreds and thousands of these places, like or weird things that are happening, where we can intervene and can say like, okay, stop, why are you doing this? You're actually also, it costs a lot of money to do the service. And what we have now is a static composting system based mainly on fungi that is super low work, mainly automized. At least we're getting there. and produces high quality humus on the spot. And we needed to just stick our heads together a bit, find a few people who know, who have the right skills, and bring them there and build it up. And yeah, I think this is one of the examples of where we can attach. It's a bit random maybe, but I didn't prepare a talk at all. I'm just super fascinated by this at the moment. Also, many thanks to Malte Larsen, who was the main lead on this project, or is still. We will continue on it the next years. And also to maybe put another aspect of Homo sapiens in there, we can use this place now for education. So not traditional teaching, but like showing like, okay, look, this is a static compost facility. This is how it works. You can easily build it up yourself. The information about it, there's lots of things online anyway already. And but to have a place locally in Berlin where we can go and give workshops and bring people together, which is also great. Yeah, so it kind of combines many things. Yeah, any questions to this so far? Because I think I could talk about 50 other topics, but I think this is mainly what I wanted to say. I mean, I could also give a short history on Homo sapiens, because I think that was the main title. Just stop me when the time is over. So Homo sapiens was, Mark is getting the t-shirt, great. Yeah, so the thing with the t-shirt is actually a good starting point, because we were interested in building up this network around this certain topic of humus, but we had no money, we had no funding for it. And at that time, there was still this crowdfunding supported by some Swiss foundation money, and we managed to get quite a bit. We did 2 crowdfundings in this on this platform, and we managed to get some money out of it. Yeah, the science booster, exactly. I think, yeah, Hackuarium also profited from that, and it was amazing. I really loved it, because we could kind of build a network plus get some money in. So it was a win-win situation. Crowdfunding is a lot of work, so it's also, there's a downside, of course, but it was great for this kind of project. It was really the right tool. And yeah, and this helped us to start the meetings in 2018, and kicked off the whole project. We also did a tour where we were traveling through Switzerland and Germany, and doing these kind of meetings in different interesting places. And yeah, I think that was a great kickoff. And then later it divided, or it spread a bit, and we were working more locally, and then updating each other once in a while. Also the meetings that Hackuarium organized in Zurich were good for that. But generally we went our ways kind of doing local projects. And I'm still not sure what kind of other projects came out of it.
Julian,
Yeah.
time is up.
Sure.
Okay, I see a certain David Kang in the audience. Hi, David. Can you?
David.
Would you like to say something?
Yeah, just good morning from the East Coast, and Vittorio, it's so great to see you, and so great to see so many old friends and faces here. I apologize, I'm just waking up right now, but this is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to see you guys, and
Yeah,
Vittorio, I'm so happy to see you.
Thank you for providing the infrastructure and the hard work behind this event. But I think I do not need to explain it further, because most of the people here are very familiar with the BioSummit. I think. At least,
well,
enough.
Yeah, I just want to say hi Maya, hi Mark, hi Julian. So many. I actually haven't seen a lot of you guys probably since biofabbing in 2017, which for me was like a really pivotal moment in my life, honestly, was going to meet you guys in Switzerland. So that really changed my life, being out there.
Yeah.
So it's so great to see you guys. And really quickly too, I was just reflecting, because Mary Magic, she was really the kind of co-founder of this event. She was at MIT with me back when we were first figuring out what this event was going to be. And actually it was Mary that really named the event. Actually, if you guys don't know the history, she was the one that came up with the name. We were trying to figure out what to call this event, and we were figuring it out. And Global Community BioSummit, all those words were sort of a co-creation. And I remember in that first event, do you guys remember we had because Hackuarium, you guys were like in the woods doing something, and we had this, we did like a ceremony together where it was like you guys were doing something, and like we live streamed you into the conference. Do you guys remember this? Do you know what I'm talking about? Mark, do you remember this? We did you did there was a whole like ritual that happened, and we like did something together. It's a little fuzzy now exactly what we did, but I remember it was a pretty epic moment.
Yeah. There was
we had this Klöntal biohack retreat. Maya and Julian were there. This is also kind of the start of the Homo sapiens kind of, but we were a bit off grid, so we sent a video over where we like playing guitar with the cows and
yeah.
That was awesome.
I remember Günter telling me, I asked Günter, where are you going, to Boston or with the guys in the valley? He said, I'm going with the rich guys.
Well, we did a whole session that first year that was like, how did everybody know Mark? I remember we had like 30 minutes where everybody was talking Mark about like how everybody's relationship to you. So it was a very funny, it was a pretty awesome moment from the first BioSummit. So anyways, just Vittorio.
There was a live connection during the BioSummit with them, if I remember. Yeah, you were mentioning this. Okay.
Yeah. But anyways, it's so great to see you guys, and Vittorio, congratulations. I know Vittorio, you've been working so hard on pulling together the session, so I'm just so happy. This looks amazing. So
yeah, it's some kind of a miracle, and so that means it won't happen again. Okay, so David, I should go. I'm actually it's my turn now. I have to present my project. We are a little bit also running out of time, but I think we will also, some of us, if they are free, we will also continue the conversation tomorrow in the regional meeting, because the first session was amazing for me, because it was a collective reconstruction of our histories, as our stories, our histories as a bio-European community labs, or whatever you might want to name them, to call them. Okay. So without further ado, as you usually say, I will try to present my own project as well, and I'll try to to share my screen. It's sorry. I a lot of sorry, perhaps someone else should go first because we have technical problems here. Sorry, because I'm in a fab lab, but the electricity is not working. Roland, would you like to go first?
All right.
Okay.
I'll make it a bit quick. I prepared a bit of. I put my own timer on. I prepared a bit of a thing because I moved to Oslo a while back, just during pandemic times, which has been interesting. So before I was in Amsterdam, but this is more about my experience in the Nordics, or in Norway in particular. Because in this session we try to kind of map this whole Europe region, and this was all new to me, and I didn't realize there was all this kind of Scandinavian connections until moving to Oslo. So I'll share a bit about that with you. Actually, I can share my screen as well. Ooh, share screen. Are you seeing my screen? Now you're seeing my screen.
Okay.
Yes. All right, so I made an Arena channel, so you can look some things up later. I will share 2 projects. This is me. I'm actually currently also a PhD candidate, but in Sheffield. I work with microbes, touch and motion. And one of these projects is also developed in the makerspace in Oslo, which I will talk about later. And I really am interested in how to use these kind of open spaces and maker spaces to do well, research projects, which I've been doing it at Waag in Amsterdam for a while, but then that's kind of a fab lab and it's kind of organized as a foundation. But then in Oslo, I came to Bitraf, which is the biggest makerspace of Norway, I think, which just moved. I don't know if you ever heard about Bitraf. It's quite old already, but it's interesting for me because I went in a total different situation, because in the makerspace case, which I guess is the same in Switzerland, but it's all owned by the participants. So everybody pays rent basically per month, and it's quite big, and it just moved to a new location. This is a video of the crowdfunding campaign. I want to show you the first minutes because Heike is there. This is Heike. We couldn't make it today. It's all in Norwegian. And we were really proud because they used the microscope in the first minute of the video for the crowdfunding campaign. But it's a really nice makerspace, and there's also a little biology corner with a microscope, which originally got from the university in Oslo, and also a very big flow hood. And now after the move, that's all got its own separate room, which we just renovated and painted. So that's really exciting. I developed one project there, which I originally gave a workshop on for actually Günter students 2 years ago on microscopy and movement, called chronomicroscopy. And then in Bitraf, I developed it a bit further. So this is the microscope I worked with, which is very nice. Phase contrast microscope. It's a Nikon one, so you can directly attach the Nikon camera to the microscope, which is really cool. And then kind of algorithmically, I show the movement over time, which I know some other people work on as well, but I got this chronomicroscopy, and now during the next years, so part of my research project is going to be cataloging these motions of the microbes and asking the questions whether you can recognize a microbe, not on its morphology, but on how it moves. And I also want to open source this software, which is currently written in processing. Last thing I want to talk about is I did a project with Nova, which is in Os. It's a Norwegian bioart arena. Some people might know the team behind it, which is Hege Tapio and also Noora Volge, who also was in the Netherlands before. It's just kind of a network organization, but it's also starting a biolab, which I helped start. Still in the process of founding that. But we did one project for the State of the Art Network, which is a Scandinavian network organized by the BioArt Society. Here's also Marietta Radomska, who will give a talk later today. from Finland. And together with Heike Tapio, I did actually a soil workshop. So that's where I want to end on. Inspired by soil chromatography, which I saw by Deborah Solomon in The Hague years ago, and I always wanted to do this, to look at the health of soil, so to say.
David.
I know Hackaria also did this. I saw the blog on Hackaria about the soil chromatographies, which are really helpful. But this is a really nice method to visualize the compounds in soil, whether it has a lot of humus or so you can see here the different chromatographs people made. And it actually inspired some of the participants to now organize their own workshops in Finland on soil chromatography. So it's nice to see this developing. This with Heike Tapio. And I think what we really developed there is we gave a 3-day workshop all over Zoom, having a lot of time for people to actually talk and organize their thoughts and a kind of poetry based on the experiments on day 3. So this is something I really learned. And one cool thing about working in Scandinavia is that they said it was going to be filmed and it was very little budget. In the end, there was like a film crew with 6 people showing up. This would never happen in the Netherlands. But so the production quality is really cool. Okay, this was what I wanted to share. Also in reference to the soil project with the Hackaria is doing and Julian, because it has some connections. And I will just share the whole thing with you. And now we can go to the next speaker, I think. What are my feet doing? Yeah, so everybody had to give
Roland,
yeah.
two things. One, should start to wrap up. 2, Julian is waiting for the host to let him in. Julian I think is waiting for the host to let him in. I cannot see his request.
Who is the host?
Host for Praxis Desiree? Is it Desiree?
I've disabled the waiting room, so he should be able to come in now.
Yeah.
He's in.
He's texting me that he has been waiting for minutes or something like this.
There we go.
I cannot see his request. Okay.
They're all in.
Okay, that's it. Okay.
When does the plenary actually start? Is it in an hour?
Yeah.
It's in an hour. So yeah, this could go for another 30 minutes if you guys want.
Yeah, I would love that. Yeah, I don't know, because we still have the third session left, but it's up to everyone. Yeah, it's Roland. Could you say your final thoughts? I was sorry to have interrupted you again.
No, that's fine. I'll just ask a couple of questions from the chat. So what my feet were doing in the soil bed. So all the participants gathered. So this was a Zoom workshop, and all the participants were in Scandinavia because SOTAN is a Scandinavian state-of-the-art network. So people were in Finland and Iceland. Actually, we sent out these packages for them to all do this chromatography, which was horrible actually, because we had to fill in the FedEx, or no, we had the DHL, but we had to exactly fill in the chemicals in the DHL, and this took us hours at the station to send it to them. But everybody gathered soil, and we started with a food bath, which was actually kind of great because everybody was sitting with their feet in their own soil at home. And even though we were all at home, it did connect some kind of awkward situation where everybody was in for 20 minutes, which I would recommend to everybody. Soil food baths. First and the last time I did a soil food bath, but it was marvelous.
But that was what you used then for the chromas? You did the whole sodium hydroxide?
The same soil to take a sample.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we also sent them a kit to make natto, because natto is this fermented soybeans which are fermented with Bacillus subtilis, which also grows in soil. So there was this connection. But the great thing I learned in this workshop, and that's where I will end on, is because we had 3 days. Basically, Erik Berger of the Bioart Society in Finland said, no, you have to make it 3 days. It needs to be 6 hours per day, because he liked the idea of having time. And this was really valuable, because normally I do kind of workshops and then everybody learns technique and then at some point it ends. But now the kind of practical thing ended on day 2. So we had a whole day 3 just to talk about what we did, and then somebody did a whole kind of artistic poetry based on these soil chromatographs, where everybody was contributing in the Zoom chat. And so it's really nice to have like this extra time, I think. So this is what I'm taking home with for like future workshops. I have like more time to ferment the thoughts and create new ideas.
Okay. Okay. Any questions for Roland, or?
I think we should go on to the next.
Okay, the next would be finally me. I can try at least. So I can start my presentation. Try to share my screen. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we see it.
Okay.
Looks good.
Okay. This is the project I was referring to earlier. Who got last year? I got 150,000 euros for this for equity-free funding, but I had to give it up because of the pandemic, because this project relied on business model based mainly on sustainable.
I'm sorry, Vittorio, you have an echo on the line. I think you have 2 accounts.
Yeah, probably. So sorry for that. Sorry.
I think that's better already.
Is it better? Is it better now? Can you still hear the echo now?
Yes, it's better.
It's better.
Okay. No, because I got yeah, I can hear the echo as well, but that should not be me. Probably someone else. I don't know.
So I just muted someone else. It should be okay.
Yeah, probably, because it's I got another session on the phone, but I closed it.
Okay.
Okay. So I was saying this open distributed environmental monitoring network as a business model was compromised by the pandemic because it relied on sustainable tourism and on the educational aspects, i.e. working with schools, and on the active participation of a network of experts who should come in the area of Ischia and Napoli. Ischia is an island in front of Napoli. And all these 3 aspects were, simply not possible anymore with the pandemic. So the background is that for Napoli area and surroundings have been really heavily affected by illegal toxic waste disposal issues, and this seems to have been causing an abnormal incidence of certain kinds of cancer, as well as malformation both in animals and in human beings. You can see some examples of what I mean. This illegal landfills and this enormous, gigantic piles of rubbish, sometimes toxic, illegally disposed of, who are also set on fire by people sometimes also connected with the local mafia. The name is Camorra. So we have now it's background 2 slide is some scientific literature about this incident, the correlation between this abnormal incidence of cancers and malformation in the area. And then there was this idea these are just 2 examples. The idea was to create some kind of distributed network of upcycled and open source low cost tools and protocols. The upcycling idea came to me when I visited Hackuarium. The original, location of Hackuarium was simply packed with upcycled or second-hand tools from, I think, companies and the universities in the area. It was impressive. It was the largest biohacking space I've ever visited. It was 1,000 square meters, of which there were 200 square meters of this kinds of tools. And then this was the idea. The idea is to have a distributed money network platform of spaces. The idea is to obtain a fairly cheap and accurate first level yes or no answer on the presence of mutagens by using a combination of open source local scientific tools and protocols and upcycled tools. So some kind of whistleblowing. So that's then you see the standard of how we'd like to treat data in accordance with the latest provisions at the European level. This was the theme, but some of them are here as well. There is also Günter Seyfried, Federico. I know probably most of them know Federico Muffatto, the founder of DigiBio in Amsterdam. He is Italian actually, but this is the location. And the biologic side was actually a tip from Paige Whitehead and Sebastian Koszoba. They pointed me out the existence of a strain of microbes that changes attitude when exposed to mutagens. I cannot remember now by heart, but I can send you some references which strain that is. But the project was about experimenting with this as well. So it's like sometimes they call it research and development project or deep tech project. That means that the so-called technology readiness level is not so high. I.e., I mean, we are not so close to the final product. So that's all I had to say. I think if there are any questions, I can, answer it. At least try.
So you basically were hoping to use the Ames test, the old bacterial method, to see if there are mutagens there?
Yeah, a series of a combination of upcycled tools, so professional tools, perhaps some like they used to in the repair cafes, and salvaged, dumpster diving, sometimes it's the English expression, and open source tools like you see you see in a public lab website or in something. For example, I built some spectrophotometers during the first Biohack Academy together with Peter van Leeuwen. And something like this. It was both a political stance, a strong political reaction, like it was the case with the open insulin that inspired me as well. And it was also it had building a spectrophotometer or dealing hands-on with these issues as a strong educational value in schools and local universities, as well as other educational institutions. So that was the idea. Yeah, it would be good to connect with efforts like Open Soil, Rural Hack, and so on, to pool resources and join forces and so on. I got a team. I was not I had got put together a team because I'm not a biologist. I was the team leader, and also have a more direct experience of hardware and software development. So it's and I've got a long term experience with the community biolabs. I did a field research. I did a PhD on this, as most of you probably know. That's it. I don't know if I answered your question. I cannot actually see any of you. Okay. Hello, are you still there?
We're
Hello?
still here.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
I'm finished. So it's I think it's should be Stefano is not here. I think there's still Christiana and Špela. Christiana is you are next.
Okay.
Oh.
Hello, Christiana.
Hello. I'm sorry, but I'm not on my computer here, so it's a little bit slow.
Did Christiana actually push the wrong button and just fall out?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah.
It might be.
Yeah, because she.
She's gone.
I heard their voice. Yeah.
Yeah, she probably clicked the red button.
Yeah. Yeah, probably.
Maybe we should have a 5-minute break. We've been here since 11.
Yeah, it's otherwise we could start with the Špela. Or do you guys want a break, or I don't know?
Hey, salut, Damien.
Špela, are you here? Are you still here? I saw Špela 5 or 10 minutes ago. She was here.
She's not here now.
No, she's not here. No. So what can we do? The next one should be Francesco, I think, for the other session, but it's because he also has to go. So if Christiana isn't here, we could have Francesco first. Francesco Guarino, who
I
was,
see him. He's here.
Yeah. Francesco, can you? Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
My story is about the Rome biohacker community that doesn't still exist. Because in 2014, a group of makers linked to the Fab Lab Rome followed the VAG Bioacademy, and we set up our bio
Francesco, I think you may have frozen.
but we are tight linked to the Fab Lab activities. So we didn't have their meeting room, for example, and this. For a while, it was possible for us to run our project, and we are focused on a lot on the fermentation, and also we have a lot of project linked to the molecular kitchen, because you know, in Italy, when we talk about the kitchen, you found a lot of enthusiasm around you. So starting from the kitchen, we and to there you can involve some people in our activities, and the fermentation was the main point of contact of the between the biology and the kitchen. For example, we start to make pasta acida. I don't know something is a mix for the bread, and
dough.
Okay. Sourdough. Yes. And some project like this, but with after the first year, where there's a lot of attention to our activities, we start to have a lot of problem with the Fab Labs, because the Fab Lab itself start to have a lot of problem to finance their activities, and and they don't found really interesting our activities for the development of their space, and they start to limitate our access to the labs, or because we use, for example, our corner is in their meeting rooms that they use for workshops, and the workshops are the main activity they did to found the Fab Labs, for example, and this is one of the major, the main problem we have at the time, and so I can, and the other problem that I can highlight, and we don't have for needs to be
Did we lose Francesco?
Yes, he dropped out.
He's beside me, actually. He's trying to reconnect.
Okay, I'm in the game.
Okay, he's in again. Okay.
Okay. So I can. There's two main problem. I can highlight. One is the business model because and it was interesting before seeing the other ACLAB
Hackuarium, and how they work. And the other is to maintain the community, because after the first year we have a lot of brewers that are skilled in our in our labs, but after they continue by themselves in at their home, because they have no more interest in participating in our activities, and this is this was a huge problem for us. And the second is the business model, because when the Fab Lab start to have the problem, we don't have another place to restart our activity, and so we ended our project, and we continue only at the personal level, and this is the history of our labs.
Oh, okay, so sorry for the bad quality of the connection. And what Francisco, I think, meant, I don't know if how much of his content came through. It's to present not only success stories, but also failure stories, because as they say, sometimes you learn more from failures than from successes. At least you learn, or at least you learn from both. That's it. If there are any questions for Francisco? Okay.
There's many comments about sourdough in the chat, so you should check the chat.
Yeah. You got some messages and some solidarity from the chat. Okay, so if Christiana is back, it was
maybe I was wrong. I didn't see her now. I thought she was.
No, I read it in the chat, because
I think, as Maya was saying, I think it's best now just to wrap up, because we only have 5 minutes left.
So Christiana isn't here because she was on the point of presenting, so it's she dropped out for good. Okay.
You will come back. Luckily, she already spoke about.
Yeah, but there's also the regional meeting tomorrow. So it's as far as I know, it's completely empty. I don't know. Yeah. So we didn't do the third session at all. We can, if it's okay with you, if for those who are available tomorrow, we could move this session into the regional meeting. That is the session of on future perspectives, collaboration, and in Europe. So I would like to thank you all for showing up, which was definitely not taken for granted by me. It was very, very, very tiresome work, but very rewarding. I think it was an interesting session, but I don't have to, because it's my own work as well. I'm in the position of a conflict of interest, so the others should have the final judgment. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, David. Thank you, everyone, to have been here. So bye from Napoli for now. And
should we all do a little screenshot thing, or
yeah, perhaps family photo. Okay.
if everyone could put on their videos?
Yeah, David, you are the expert. Guide
David's
us.
there.
Are you here?
I'm
was
here.
Yeah. He was here 30 seconds ago. Yeah, he's here. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
To the European community. Yeah, thank you, David.
Yeah, if you guys turn your videos on, we'll just take a quick picture together.
I just took a picture of you, David.
No, everybody, not me. Yeah.
No, with that background, I mean. Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. Thank you.
Vittorio, I was going to say too, if you guys want, you could do the European regional tomorrow at this exact same time and just have 2 more. You can have whatever Zoom room you want and just go for 2 more hours if you want tomorrow, if this is a better time.
Yeah.
Do you mean right now?
Oh, actually, yeah.
Christiana is back.
It's 8:27.
Yeah, we better go.
Christiana, would you like to? I don't know if would you like to say something, because we were actually wrapping up, or do you want to go first tomorrow?
Yes, I'll go tomorrow. I'm sorry about this. The computer crashed. I guess my biggest intervention was a little earlier. I do believe that BioSummit is a very big family. I am very thankful that I am here, and I will be presenting tomorrow my work. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and David was asking whether it's more convenient for us to have the same starting time, but maybe it's not convenient for Desiree. Yeah, but
I can't do tomorrow. Sorry.
Yeah. We could.
Yeah,
if it is I could open the room for you, Vittorio. If you guys want to do this time.
I was joking.
So when you say this time, you mean like right now, or when
like what exact time do you mean?
Yeah,
because we opened it at 3.5 hours ago initially.
If we opened it at 6 a.m. Eastern time, Vittorio, I could open the room for you if you want.
I think David, the most the safest way to do so it's a poll. I will put a doodle and see how people are responding.
Sounds good.
Either 6 a.m. Eastern time, which is 12 noon in Central European time, or correct me if I'm wrong, 1 p.m. Eastern time, which is 7 p.m.
European time. Yeah,
I think the 7 p.m. is better because we had 1 hour to talk how we were going to do that. So if we can start tomorrow at 7, it would be much better.
Yeah, I will put a doodle, or maybe also someone else can do it.
I can do that.
And in our channels, WhatsApp, Telegram, you know, I also got 2 daughters, so it's
just let us know, Vittorio. Yeah, you guys can do whatever time. If it's this time or later, just let us know what's best, and we'll make it happen.
Yeah. I will put on a doodle, send the doodle through the mailing list, through the WhatsApp group, to the Telegram group, and that's it. Okay.
Thank you, Vittorio.
Yeah. Thank you, David.
Thank you, everybody. And if you guys want to come back, the main session's in 30 minutes. And Giuliana Furci, she's the president of the Fungi Foundation. And if you guys saw that documentary, Fantastic Fungi, she's one of the characters in there and is really amazing. And it's going to talk all about mycelium for 30 minutes. So that'll happen in 30 minutes. So you can come back right here in 30 minutes. So.
Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Vittorio.
Bye. Thank you.